Hi, welcome back to Soul Clinic. I'm Chang, and I don't know how much time I will have today. It's today's Sunday, and I'm home with my wife and my son, so I can be needed at any minute. But um, the time while during the time that we have today, I wanted to share an interesting thought that just came to me today, and I was reflecting on how some other YouTubers that I've been liking a new style of these videos. The videos that are somewhat different from what I'm used to, meaning this spontaneous, no script, and no edit, as far as I can tell. And spontaneous, just sharing, speaking. And some of those are channelers. Two of those are channelers, and or psychics. So the messages that drew me to their videos was what was about to happen for me. So they were using, here's what's coming for you, if you're resonating with this message. And for my videos, although I took up the same element of being spontaneous, unscripted, and just flowing, words flowing, like when you're channeling, I didn't feel like that's not what I was here to do. I didn't feel like that's what I was here to do. Did I say that right? That was not my thing, okay? And yet, I also felt a little bit queasy, hesitant about talking about me, I, because that could seem kind of egocentric, egotistical. And I was still having a hard time reconciling the desire to speak and share and put my message out there, and at the same time not wanting to be like a prophetic messenger telling people about what's coming in their lives. Although that I could do, I certainly have my own connection to the other world. And while I do not channel as in as many other channelers do, I can relay messages in one-on-one sessions when I do shamanic work. But that's not, I felt the need for this channel to be about me, but not me as an ego, or not me exclusively, so that it puts a barrier between you and me rather than connect you and me. So talking about I, me, or talking in the first person seemed to me like not a great strategy for reaching many people with my content. Yet, the aha that I had today, because there was no logical progression. Well, there was some kind of connecting the dots, but it wasn't necessarily me trying to reason why this was a better way, or this was the way that I felt like proceeding. In one of the earlier videos, maybe it's the very last video, but I talked about the range, the scope of what you call as I determines the strength that you have access to. In other words, in a more simpler way, there's only one I. While there is 3 different versions in English, for example, the first person, second person, and third person, and in most modern widely spoken languages, I think that's the case. So there are many different ways of designating different entities, different people. But where I am coming from, and where from the level that I aspire to function on a daily basis, the I named Chang is not really separate. And when I say I, when I use the first person, yes, I may be at times sharing the experience gathered through the individuated filter named Chang. On a more fundamental level, I am very clear that I, Chang, is just an individuated version of God having an individuated experience. And I hope I don't sound egotistical, or I hope I'm not sounding like I'm trying to elevate myself to a God status. I don't need to elevate myself because I am just like you are. No one can take that away from us because it is God-given, or it's the nature of God. The nature of God includes omnipresence. So God is everywhere, and that includes me. And God cannot be not present in anything. So by default, I'm God, you're God. And it's all the same I. The one I. There's only one I. So a thought experiment for me, mainly, but for you, if you can follow. I decided to act like, even when I'm saying I, it could be the same as when I'm saying you. Okay, what's happening to me is what's happening to you. And therefore, I don't need to use what's going on in your life all the time, like a prophetic message. Not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I realized the hesitancy, or my unwillingness to go in that direction as a prophet, giving you messages on what's going to happen in your life. Was not for me personally, because it may strengthen the illusion that you and I are separate, and I, as someone outside of you who has a prophetic shamanic gift, telling you what's going to happen in your life, because that is the old energy. That is one form of giving your power away to someone external to you, to someone outside of you, who may seem to have a gift that you yourself don't have, which is not true. I may have my gift highly developed, and because we are all individual beings, my particular gifts and talents may not match, may not be exactly the same as yours, but it does not matter what I have access to, because I only can draw from one source, one power, God, universe, the divine, whichever source, whichever word that suits you, that suits your background and tradition. But your power source is my power source, and vice versa. There's only one power source. And how much, the amount, how much we can draw from that one single common shared power source is, this may be surprising, determined by your mastery over your physical vehicle, because that is the key, the focus, the centerpiece of our experience in this human life, at least in this round. If we wanted unlimited exclusive access to spiritual powers, for example, then we could have just stayed in the spirit world. For example, time travel, or the ability to be at multiple places at once. It's going to be much easier when we don't have a body and we are just a spirit. So like angels or ghosts that passed over to the other side. So without a body, that becomes much easier. But the key is, especially when you are here, if you're here listening to me in a human body, and you want to live a conscious life as an incarnated embodied human being, then our challenge is to translate those spiritual gifts into the physical world and bilocate with the body, in a body, for example, among many others. So the core and the key is embodied spirituality. Downloading, if you will, the spiritual gifts into our physical vehicles. So how did I end up here? I was talking about there is only one source. So my point is, even when I'm talking about me, what's happening in my life, you can take this as what's happening to you, because the only reason why you are watching me, listening to me for the duration of these videos is that you resonate with this message. So while I am in a quest, I have been in a quest, I just didn't realize I was on it, to embody as much spiritual gift as possible while living in this body. Does that mean I can time travel? I can bilocate? I can levitate? No, not yet. Not yet at the time of this recording. But I don't want to limit my potential by saying it is impossible. Who knows? We're going through a massive change, a dimensional change. We're traveling into a different dimension of human experience. And if you follow other spiritual information sources, you may have heard of this before. And if you resonate with me, then you know that is part of your mission, purpose. I don't want to make it too heavy by using those terms. I can just say the point of you being here. And also that is, for me, another way of describing a more specific explanation of what it means to experience heaven on earth. So earth as an element, not just our planet, but as an element, it is described as the basic material of the physical material reality. And heaven, of course, is closely related to the spirit. So the spiritual into the physical, the higher principles of the spiritual world, of freedom, of love, the multidimensionality that makes it hard to define exactly what you are, who you are. You don't want to be tied down to a narrow description. And that is why it may feel hard at times to put a finger on like what you're doing here, because it won't be found in any three-dimensional flat way that our modern society tries to define any human life as. So, for example, we ask children, what do you want to become when you grow up? And that's a very, if you really dissect the linguistic part of it, it's a pretty limiting question. We're not even asking who do you want to become, we're asking what. Like a human being can be reduced as a what? As a noun, as a word, as a job description. Because that's what we're asking most of the time when we ask that question, what do you want to become? We're not here to be narrowly defined. And the more difficult it becomes to define what and who you are, being here, doing, becoming, it's a sign that you're becoming more fully multidimensional, being more fully multidimensional, or fully assuming the true identity of you, which is multidimensional in nature. Okay, and that was a mic drop moment right there, and I just like the fact that I was able to keep this message under 20 minutes, and I'll see you in the next one.